It begins long before our time with kings, empires, and prophets whose words shaped civilizations. Ancient tablets in Mesopotamia spoke of gods descending from the heavens. Scrolls hidden in caves near the Dead Sea whispered of forbidden knowledge and angels who defied divine law. Even the Bible hints at texts never meant for ordinary eyes. Centuries later, those whispers seem to vanish. Manuscripts disappear, artifacts are quietly removed from the record, and almost every trail ends in the same place, Rome. Inside the walls of the Vatican lies an archive stretching over 50 miles, a labyrinth of locked chambers holding more than 12 centuries of human history. But here's where the story turns darker. Access has been restricted for generations. Even today, only a handful of approved scholars are allowed inside, with no cameras, no photographs, and no transparency. Ask yourself, what truths are worth guarding so carefully? Some claim it holds letters from ancient emperors, secret prophecies of the end of days, even evidence that could rewrite the story of Christianity itself. Others whisper about modern cover-ups, wartime documents, political bargains, and knowledge that could shake nations if revealed. And here is the question you must face. Is the world's most powerful church safeguarding history or burying it? Because the deeper you look into the Vatican's forbidden archives, the more you realize that humanity was never meant to see what lies inside. Myth origins long. Before the Vatican locked its doors to history, the idea of forbidden texts was already alive. Early Christianity was not one voice, but many. Alongside the familiar Gospels of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John were others: the Gospel of Thomas, the Gospel of Mary, and even texts claiming to reveal secret conversations with Christ himself. Some described cosmic battles, others hinted at hidden prophecies. And then there was the Book of Enoch, a text so controversial that it was erased from most Bibles. It told of angels who descended to earth, taught humanity forbidden arts, and fathered giants who devoured the land. For centuries, Enoch disappeared from the West, surviving only in fragments smuggled through Ethiopia. Ask yourself, why remove such a book, unless it carried truths too dangerous to repeat? This pattern isn't unique to Christianity. Ancient Egypt guarded its priestly scrolls in sealed chambers, accessible only to the initiated. Mesopotamian kings kept libraries of clay tablets, but only fragments ever reached the public. Knowledge was always power, and the highest powers guarded it with silence. Many of these writings resurface, then vanish again. And almost every time their trail ends in the same place, Rome. But here's the mystery. Which of these documents are real and which are legend? And if even half of them exist, what picture of human history has been kept from us? The birth of the secret archives. The story takes a decisive turn in the year 1612. Pope Paul V issues a decree: the Church's most sensitive documents will be withdrawn from public view and placed in a private archive. From that moment on, history itself is placed under lock and key. The Vatican's secret archives were born, a fortress of parchment and stone, hidden behind iron gates and guarded by silence. Not a library, not a museum, but a vault. Access was restricted to the Pope and a handful of trusted scholars. For everyone else, the doors remained closed. Even today, church historians admit the scale is staggering. In a BBC interview, one described it as a city of documents, stretching more than 50 miles, containing over 12 centuries of history. Imagine that. 50 miles of shelving, and almost none of it available to the world. For nearly 3 centuries, this was policy. No entry, no viewing, no exceptions. The knowledge of entire civilizations, the correspondence of kings, the judgments of councils, all sealed in silence. Ask yourself, what was happening in those locked centuries? What truths were withheld while empires rose and fell outside those walls? And why, after so long, did the Vatican suddenly decide to allow limited access only in the late 19th century, when the modern world was demanding transparency? Because secrecy, this absolute, is never without purpose. Whispers of hidden treasures. Once the doors were opened, even slightly, the whispers began. Scholars who gained rare access emerged with tantalizing accounts. They spoke of documents that reshaped what we thought we knew. The trial records of the Knights Templar, the warrior monks accused of heresy in the 14th century. For centuries, their fate was clouded in legend. The archives revealed that the Vatican had absolved them in secret, even as they burned at the stake. Galileo's handwritten defense, a desperate plea to reconcile faith with science, buried after the Church condemned him. His words lay in silence for hundreds of years, while his name became synonymous with heresy. Letters from Michelangelo himself, furious notes to the Pope, protesting non-payment for his work on the Sistine Chapel. Even art, it seems, has its forbidden history. But the trail doesn't stop with history's familiar faces. The whispers grow darker. Suppressed prophecies from Fatima, never released to the public. Alleged documents suggesting Jesus left descendants, a truth that could shake Christianity to its core. Even rumors of correspondence on extraterrestrial encounters, hidden away before the modern UFO era even began. Investigative cues deepen the intrigue. Radar scans beneath Vatican City have suggested hidden chambers yet unexplored. Museum staff have quietly hinted at restricted codices misfiled for decades. Ask yourself, if these are just dusty records, why so many layers of secrecy? Why the silence, the locked doors, the missing pages? Because sometimes what's hidden isn't history, it's power. Modern intrusions the 20th century brought war to Europe, and with it, new suspicions. During World War II, whispers spread that Nazi documents, stolen art, even secret correspondence between the Vatican and Hitler's regime were quietly absorbed into the archives. Some researchers claim evidence of negotiations and hidden pacts still lies behind those locked doors, but no proof has ever surfaced. By the 1960s, the pressure grew louder. Scholars demanded broader access. Journalists filed requests that echoed the spirit of freedom of information laws. But while governments bowed to transparency, the Vatican resisted. Only the smallest fragments were released. Only the safest histories saw the light. And yet, leaks still found their way out. In 2012, reports surfaced of letters documenting the Church's entanglement in colonial expansion, including its position on slavery. The revelations were damning, not because they were unexpected, but because they had been hidden for centuries. What else, then, remains concealed? Every leak raises more questions than answers. Each glimpse into the vault suggests a much larger story behind the veil. Ask yourself, why does every fragment we uncover only sharpen the sense that something bigger remains hidden? Why is secrecy the one constant across centuries of change? Because with the Vatican's forbidden archives, the silence is never empty, it's deliberate, it's a choice. And choices that endure this long always have a reason. The conspiracy pattern, when you step back, a chilling pattern emerges. Time and again, a text is discovered. It surfaces briefly in a desert cave, in a ruined monastery, in a forgotten library. Scholars rush to study it. Then, silence. The manuscript disappears, and almost without fail, the trail ends in the same place, the Vatican. It has happened across centuries, cultures, conflicts, and apocryphal gospels in early Christianity. Letters from kings during the Crusades. Wartime dispatches from the 20th century. Different times, different voices, but the same outcome. Disappearance into the archives. Generations pass, knowledge fades, entire civilizations are reduced to footnotes, unless preserved behind Vatican walls. Think about it. What we call lost history may not be lost at all. It may simply be locked away, hidden from the world. And here the conspiracy deepens. Some claim the archives hold evidence of ancient technologies, knowledge passed down from civilizations like Egypt or Mesopotamia. Others whisper of warnings, eschatological prophecies describing not just the end of the Church, but of humanity itself. Ask yourself, is this secrecy about protecting faith, or is it about survival? Survival of power, survival of institutions, survival of a version of history that cannot withstand the light of day. Because when the pattern never changes, when silence repeats itself across ages, it is no longer a coincidence, it is designed. The silence in the age of instant data, when satellites map our planet in real time, when libraries digitize millions of books with a single scan, the Vatican's archive remains a black hole. No photographs allowed, no digital copies permitted. Only a fraction of scholars, carefully vetted and approved, are admitted each year. Even then, they are granted access to only a handful of documents, never to wander freely. It is a silence so complete, it speaks louder than words. Ask yourself, why maintain secrecy in a world that demands transparency? Why guard parchment like treasure in a time when knowledge flows across the globe? Because what humanity cannot see, humanity cannot learn from. And what humanity does not learn, it is doomed to repeat. Civilizations rise, collapse, and vanish, and the lessons that might save us remain hidden behind locked doors. So here is the haunting question. What is the cost of secrets that last forever? What stories, what warnings, what revelations lie buried in the dark waiting for a future that may never come? The silence is not absence, it is presence, it is power. And power guarded this tightly is never without purpose. History is not destroyed in bonfires, it is buried in silence. The great loss of our past is not the ashes of what was burned, but the secrets that were locked away unseen, unread, unknown. And so we face a sobering truth. If the past is sealed, then the future is blind. What lessons have we been denied? What warnings, what revelations, what legacies have been kept from us by choice, not by chance? Ask yourself, what truth was humanity never meant to see? Was it a gospel that changes faith itself, a prophecy that alters the fate of nations? Or something far older, knowledge from civilizations long vanished, hidden because its power endures even now? This channel exists for one reason: to follow those threads, to confront the silence, and to guard the fragments of forbidden history that surface against all odds. If you believe the past still speaks, then join us, because together we are not just viewers of history, we are investigators of its deepest mysteries. And remember this: the deeper you look, the clearer one thing becomes. The greatest secrets of the Vatican are not what they have shown us, but what they have never allowed us to see.